back to what is already episode number 25 of the toonTALK podcast brought to you by Magpie 24/7. I am joined today on this quarter of a century episode by Joe. How are you doing, Joe?
Always good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good as well, very good. In fact, it's been a pretty historical week to be a Newcastle fan, hasn't it?
Yeah, it does. It has. Yeah, it's a interesting game on Wednesday, and then interesting game yesterday as well. But lots to talk about. So
Absolutely, let's get straight into it with that
let's
very
do it.
interesting game in midweek, which was a Champions League night, a Champions League knockout night for Newcastle United, to be more specific, away in Azerbaijan against Qarabag, which is an opponent not many of us knew very much about coming into this fixture, and I don't think it's an overstatement to say that we haven't learned too many things about them after this 90 minutes. For anyone who didn't see the game, Newcastle ran riot for the first 45 minutes. We were 5-0 up at halftime with 4 goals from Anthony Gordon. Yes, you heard that right. 4 Anthony Gordon goals. He's chasing the Champions League Golden Boot with only Mbappe having scored more than him. And Malik Thiaw got on the score sheet as well for us. Let's not forget his fifth of the season. Absolutely massive from him as well. But it actually could have been 10, couldn't it?
It could have been, yeah. So we had so many chances, which we've been short of a lot of the time this season. So it was nice to have a different game to watch, especially with the attacking threat we have.
Absolutely, I completely agree.
Mm.
And to me, a lot of that has to do with Nick Woltemade moving into that number 10. I genuinely really like him there. He's not been involved in too much of the creative part of the game, which is probably something we do still lack a bit in. I mean, we'll get onto the City game in which that was very apparent yet again. But what it does offer us is that extra body in attack, which means we're just in a lot more dangerous areas combining with players. And to me, if we were to add a clinical finisher in front, which is a very weird thing to say after Anthony Gordon has just scored 4 goals in midweek, but if he was to actually play against competent defenders, we've seen he struggles a bit more. If we were to add someone who can score out of little opportunity or someone in behind to play into in a double pivot next to a Bruno or a Tonali to add a bit more creativity, I think Voltemade could be a really good option there because he just creates chaos and he isn't shy about coming back and defending either. So I don't know about you, but I really like him in that number 10.
Yeah, so Baltimore, yeah, we looked at it when he played for Stuttgart and when he plays for Germany as well. They put him in that number 10 role because he belongs in that number 10 role. He thrives. He's such a good player, and we're just not getting the best out of him because we're not doing that enough. Whether teams think we'll be predictable with that, I don't know. But we need to start playing him in that cam role. I think playing him there, and when you have Wisser available, put him up there. We have Ostula. But I mean, his finishing product that could be spoken about, obviously. But yeah, no, I think he plays well, and he played well on Wednesday night as well in that position. Really good performance from him, um, and obviously a confidence boost for him as well because you saw he was more comfortable in that role. You could see that. So why we don't do that more often, I don't know. But we leave it with Eddie, and we trust in him, obviously. But I think we should be doing that more for sure.
Absolutely, I agree, and I do think Eddie is moving towards that more and more because I mean I think we've been doing that now for the last 3 or 4 games. I think against Aston Villa he had a really good game as well.
Mm.
Whether or not that was off of the bench or did he start alongside Osula against Aston Villa? Am I mistaken in saying that?
No, I think he came off the bench. I want to say he came off the bench.
Okay, it could very much be. I mean, it's been a week. It's left my mind already.
Yeah.
Either way, for the minutes we've seen him play in that number 10 in recent weeks, he's been a lot more involved in the game than he was previously, which is a very big positive. And about the predictability, I think Nick Woltemade is a very unpredictable player in what has become a predictable team in Newcastle United because he often looks like he's coming up with the answers on the spot himself, and he has the footballing ability to do so. So I think that always makes him an interesting opposing player for a defender because how can you defend a player that doesn't necessarily know in advance what he's going to do? That's a very, very difficult situation, and it forces defenders into making rash decisions themselves. So I think Voltemade, if we can build around him, he will be absolutely fine for us. Some
Mm.
other players we need to mention after that game. I think Tonali has been slowly creeping back into form over recent weeks, which has been a very big positive for us because, I mean, it's not a very difficult equation to see Tonali's downturn in form go coincide with our downturn in results, and the same goes for our recent upturn in results and Tonali's involvement and upturn in form. Still believe if we are to persist with this double pivot system, that Tonali and Bruno next to one another is a very juicy proposition as well. But
Mm.
Willock has been playing brilliantly as of late himself.
Yeah.
A resurgence I did not see coming at all this season. But what do
No.
you make of his recent performances?
Well, I don't know. It's just come out of nowhere, come out of the blue. It's because I think I remember all of us fans probably slating him, saying he's not good enough. We need an upgrade in that midfield, but he's shown that he has got that footballing ability still. It's why it's taken so long. I don't know. Obviously, when we first had him on loan, he was incredible for us.
Mhm.
Um, and then that first season after we bought him, he was all right. And then just since he dropped, but yeah, it's so good to see him coming back to form because we need it as well, especially with Bruno out obviously for up to was it 6 to 8 weeks, I think that was.
Absolutely, yeah.
Um, yeah, so he's needed to step up, and he has. Um, so obviously, I know we've gone to the City game. He wasn't the best yesterday, I'd probably say, but it's City, isn't it? And
Mhm.
yeah, but he's come into that role. He's coming where Bruno isn't there, where Miley isn't there, and he's definitely done very well, very well. And obviously a goal against PSG for him as well in the Champions League earlier. That was good for him, probably a confidence boost for him. So yeah, very very happy with how he's been.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that was a big confidence boost because we've seen an uptick in form from him ever since that game, and he's pretty much been a starter every single week since then.
Mm.
He does come off. I mean, he gets subbed off pretty often by Eddie Howe, but I still think that's minutes management because he has struggled with injuries over the last couple of seasons. So I'm glad Eddie Howe is trying to manage his minutes where possible, and I'm mostly talking about injuries when I'm saying where possible, because we see the likes of Kieran Trippier start every single game at at this point. Even Eddie Howe is giving away that Trippier is starting in the po- uh, pre-game press conference for Qarabag because he said, "Well, we don't have a single other right back available to us, so yeah, he's very likely to start." And it seems like that's going to continue for a while. Fullback recruitment. A lot of us were screaming for at least one fullback in January. Do you think it was a mistake for us not to go and get one?
Yeah, I think it was because I mean Livermento's been out for a while now, hasn't he? And it is just Trippier. I mean, like you got your Harrison Ashbys as well. Like what we're doing with him. I know we've spoken about that before.
Hmm.
Um, I think, yeah, maybe if we're not going to use the loans that we've got out or any other player, then yeah, why we didn't get an extra a fullback who could probably play two positions, the left back and the right back. I don't know why we haven't looked for that versatility really. Left ourselves short, but I mean, I think we'll be okay this season. Absolutely. But yeah, it's a really weird decision not to get anyone in that January window.
Hmm.
I think we were screaming saying we need a couple of reinforcements, even if they're loan players to the end of the season, just something. Um, but yeah, hence it didn't happen.
Absolutely. I think the board kind of tricked themselves into thinking we were more comfortable than we were because Lewis Miley kind of assumed the responsibility of being our backup right back, and he did so brilliantly. Absolutely no slate towards him because he's been fantastic for us this season, and we've missed him dearly since he's been out injured, which is I believe the biggest compliment you can give the kid because last season he missed a lot of games through injury, actually more games than he's missed this season, but this season we felt it a lot more, his absence. So he's become
Yeah.
a very integral part of this Eddie Howe structure, shall we say? And
Mm.
I hope he comes back very soon because it's a dead leg with him, so I don't necessarily know when he's supposed to be back.
Ooh, Lewis Hall was that? So you say? He
Lewis
was back.
Miley. Lewis
Lewis
Miley.
Miley, yeah.
Yeah.
So he's yeah, he's dead. Like same with him and Bruno. I don't know when he's yeah, I don't know when he's back. I want to say it's a
Hmm.
couple of weeks. I want to
Yeah,
say it's a couple of
I
weeks,
thought
but
so too. Yeah.
yeah, not sure.
We'll see, because he's turning out to be a very, very important player for us. But the player you touch upon is proving to be unbelievably important as well. Scored a goal
Yeah,
yesterday, was great against Qarabag yet again. Is
yeah.
pretty much one of our best players in every single game we play. Lewis Hall, of course. I mean, young, best young left back in the league. Absolutely. Might
Mm.
he be the best f- left back full stop in the Premier League?
Ooh, it's a good debate. It's a good debate.
A lot of that
I think,
has to do with the lack of competition in that position, probably. Maybe if
yeah.
Gvardiol is playing out there, but Gvardiol is a very different kind of player. But even
Mm.
still, I think Lewis Hall walks into every single team in in this Premier League.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree. I think Chelsea have done us a favour, giving him 25 million as well. Say they're missing out.
Absolutely.
They've got who've they got? Kukurea or someone like that. Probably left back,
Ooh,
and we've got Lewis
that
Hall.
is
So,
that is actually some competition for best left back in the league. But I
mm,
think I do prefer Lewis Hall, absolutely.
yeah,
And then there's Elanga and Barnes on the wings, who we
mm,
haven't touched upon yet. I mean, in the second half, Elanga did get substituted for Jacob Murphy, who scored his first Champions League goal for Newcastle. A brilliant moment for him. I mean, he is a Geordie himself, so he will have loved that. And I
mm.
mean, we can very gladly say that Jacob Murphy has now scored more Champions League goals than the Mackhams have. So
Yeah,
that is an unbelievable stat in and of itself. I'm very happy for him for that stat to exist.
absolutely.
But apart from an assist from Barnes, I have to say I did think both of them could have offered more in a game where there was so much space to be exploited against Karabakh.
Yeah, so it's a sad really to see that they didn't go for it like as much as
Mhm.
I mean, you look at Gordon. Obviously, I know he played in that striker role, but he yeah, so Elanga, especially against City in the League Cup after that performance, you thought actually he's hopefully turning a corner here. Be a bit more of a good performance in each game he's in. But yeah, he just didn't offer any extra where he probably could have done it. Maybe he looked at the game thinking, oh, we're comfortable enough. I'm just going to give it 50% of what I could do. The same with Barnes maybe as well.
Mhm.
But you want them to give it 110% every game. So I don't think we can question them, but at the same time, I think we can question how much effort you put into a game.
Yeah.
Especially, yeah, like your Carabags or whoever, like could have been Monaco as well, who I think we would have comfortably beaten as well.
Mhm.
Um,
Although they
but
weren't bad against Paris Saint-Germain, it was probably the fact
no,
that Wout Faes was playing center back that actually saw to Paris Saint-Germain winning this game, because they started off pretty strongly.
So I think they went 2-0 up actually in that
Yeah.
game as well, didn't they? So maybe we're lucky we've got Qarabag. You never know. But yeah, you never know, could have been us. But yeah,
Yeah,
no,
I mean, I don't necessarily think so, but yeah.
yeah. No, but yeah, especially yeah, Elanga and Barnes. I think they could have offered
Mhm.
more. But as you say, obviously Jacob Murphy came on and he got his goal and he played quite well when he came on, and Gordon as well. Obviously the 4 goals in the first half. Yeah, he played brilliantly. But if he
Yeah,
can do that in the league as well, then please do, Anthony, if you're listening, please do.
that would
Just have
absolutely
that
help
form.
us a
Yeah,
lot indeed.
it
But
would.
I mean, on the Karabakh game, one of the instances we maybe should touch upon is the second penalty, where Gordon is already on a hat trick. Trippier comes to ask whether or not Nick Woltemade can take the penalty.
Yeah.
I mean, before I give my take on it, what do you make of that situation? Who did you think was right there?
Um, It's a difficult one because I think Gordon, when Bruno's not around, Gordon's the penalty taker, and I think
Hmm.
if that's a decision from the club captains or the management, I think that has to be respected. But I think morally on Gordon's side, give it to your Voltemards or give it to your Elangas, whoever who don't get the goals, who don't get maybe the confidence that he has. I think maybe you could have given it, especially when you're on a hat trick. If it was for his hat trick, I think I'd understand it
Hmm.
more on Gordon's side. But you want to think of your teammates at the same time.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, as I said, if it's a decision the club captains have made that he is the penalty taker when Bruno's not there, that's the
I
decision.
think he's even the penalty taker when Bruno is there, isn't he? Because I do
Uh,
think the penalties that Bruno has taken were the ones where Gordon wasn't on the pitch anymore, and Voltemaden is the
Possibly then.
third penalty taker,
Just say
if
the
I'm
last
not
penalty I remember
mistaken.
was last penalty I remember was Bruno for some reason. But yeah, obviously
Yeah, but
before Gordon
I do think Gordon
yeah.
was off injured back
Oh,
then. Yeah.
oh, okay, then maybe it's that then.
But either way, I mean, I agree with part of what you're saying. he could have given the penalty to Voltemade, and I do think that would have probably been a good idea to give it to Voltemade because he's been struggling for confidence in front of goal a little bit, and he showed involvement in that game and showed some urgency that was lacking with players like Elanga and Barnes, where I thought this is a very big opportunity to just give yourself a nice and comfortable lead, get the opportunity to play a B side in the return leg at St. James's Park, get a
Mm,
rest into some of the legs. I'm mainly thinking about Tonali, who has to do a lot when Bruno is out injured. Tiao, who has played the most minutes out of any player in our squad this season, which I mean, tells you everything you need to know about how much
yeah.
we've relied upon him. So, offering those players a rest, Lewis Hall is another one who comes to mind, who
Mm,
could be very valuable. And players like Anthony Gordon and Nick Woltemade have offered us that ability to do so because of the effort they put into the first leg, which is also another reason why I'm pretty disappointed in Elanga and Barnes because yes, we were comfortable, but also we can always be more comfortable and this could have been a game for them to jumpstart their. I mean, Harvey Barnes doesn't necessarily need that, but for Elanga in specific, this could have been a game where he could have got a goal and an assist and got in underway in the Champions League for us. But again, he didn't, and that again, that's a confidence boost then for Voltemade. But I also think Gordon often looks a little bit uninterested, so I'm quite happy to see
mm,
him not only want to take on this responsibility, but shrug off people who are willing to take that from him. Say, no, I'm the designated penalty taker. I'm the one chasing the Champions League Golden Boot. I'm going to score this penalty. And he scored it. So then, in that case, in my opinion, there's not much to say after. And I do think the interview afterwards, Trippier and Gordon together kind of echoed the same state estimate. And Trippier still probably believes that Voltemade should have taken that penalty, but he also probably is pretty happy it went in anyways.
exactly. Yeah, it's an extra goal. Can't complain. And so
Exactly.
if he missed it, I think Trippier would have had every right to say, "Nah, you should have listened." But
That's
yeah,
exactly right too. That's the tricky part
yeah,
of it. But he
exactly,
didn't, so all good in the end. Is there anything
absolutely.
else you'd like to add on this Qarabag fixture?
No, I say it was, I would say it's a good performance. I think one that was expected.
Hmm.
And I don't think we should take off the gas in the home fixture either, as you say. Maybe play more of a B side. Yeah, give your Halls a rest, put your Murphys, Alex Murphy.
Yeah,
Take off, yeah, your Voltemade, put on Sean Neve as well, give him some minutes.
absolutely.
Because I think our academy, there's some graduates you look at. I think we should be giving them some minutes as well in these kinds of games. So
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah,
And
I think yeah,
we've got history on our side now because I think in the history of this is probably not just Champions League but also just European Cup. But I do think there's been somewhere in between 90 and 95 ties where the hosts have been 5-0 up and not once have they lost that tie. So I
Mm,
mean they lost 1 or 2-0, but not once have they been knocked out after leading
yeah.
5-0. So we would be a very, very, very interesting team if we were to break that record, but I don't think we will. So let's just play the B side. Let's rest some players where necessary and maybe even score 1 or 2 for some youth players. I mean,
Yeah,
if Sean Neve was to get a goal in the Champions League, just imagine that would be a very big confidence boost for him. So a lot
absolutely.
for us to look forward to. Now let's talk about a game which was a bit more frustrating, the
Yeah.
Manchester City results from yesterday. So we lost 2-1 against Man City away at the Etihad. Fourth of the 5 fixtures we're guaranteed to have against Manchester City, and we still might face them a sixth and seventh time if we were to draw them in the Champions League semi-finals. That would be, I believe. But
Yeah, I think it is.
mhm. So yeah, about this fixture yesterday. I thought in the first half we looked like competing. Manchester City were pretty strong, but not necessarily overwhelming as they can be, as we saw them, for example, in the second leg of the Carabao Cup in the first half. Then they blew us out
Yeah.
of the park for the first 30 minutes. That wasn't the case at all. But Nico O'Reilly turned out to be a pretty good player, doesn't he?
Yes. Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah. So when I saw it yesterday, I thought, oh, there's no way. I think Pep played a different kind of squad though as well, because I think he
Mm.
played Nico O'Reilly on that left wing or the left mid
Yeah, yeah, it was
position instead
the
of that
midfield
left
position.
back.
Yeah,
Yeah. So he's played him more defensively previously, and then he's kind of pushed him up. So I
I
think that
mean,
caught us out a little bit.
yeah, O'Reilly has come through the academy as a midfielder, but indeed he has played most of his minutes in that left back role, especially when Ait
Mm.
Nouri was injured at the beginning of the season. But he's a midfielder by trade, and he showed that against us yesterday, unfortunately. I mean, the first goal, Pope should probably be doing better there. He gets, I think, the briefest of touches to it.
Yeah,
Maybe
minimal.
can say if he reacts quicker, I think he saves it.
Yeah, but also I think also as well, just touching on the first goal, I think Tiao as well, the positioning of Tiao, I won't ever slate him because he's done so well this season, but I think his positioning for that first goal could have been a little bit better.
Yeah.
Um, a bit tighter on to Riley or O'Reilly,
Mm.
sorry. Um, but yeah, no, maybe Pope could have made it a little bit more of an effort to try and save it, but yeah, it was a good strike spot from O'Reilly. So
Yeah, you're right to point that out about Thiago because I mean, that's been a problem for us defensively in a couple of games this season as of late. We've kind of struggled to close the man down in time for which allows them to have a shot at goal. And unfortunately, Pope, whereas I do think he is at least a top half goalkeeper, he probably just isn't good enough for where we want to go. And it has to be one of the positions we look at yet again over the summer, which is starting to become a bit of a drag. But hey, here we are again.
here we are.
But other than that, I did think Malik Thiaw played a very, very good game because yet again, for the 10th game, I mean, this is the ninth game in a row, but in 10 games now, Erling Haaland has only scored in his first ever game against Newcastle United. Since then, 9 games, 0 goals for Erling Haaland. And I mean, Erling Haaland yesterday, I thought played very, very well. He was
Mm.
very, very hard to deal with, but turns out the best defender to deal with Erling Haaland is Big Dan Burn.
Yeah.
Pep Guardiola said it himself. The only reason Erling Haaland had such a good game is because he finally started congesting some of the duels, which Dan Burn just consistently wins against Erling Haaland. And
Mm.
still yesterday he did. I think Thiaw is a more refined defender. He gets stuck in at the right moment. He makes a tackle which is inch perfect because otherwise it would be a penalty against us. Whereas Dan Burn is just the kind of brute which even scares someone like Erling Haaland, or not necessarily scares because I don't think Erling Haaland is scared, but he does take note of the fact that it is Dan Burn who's coming in for a duel with him, and it probably does play some sort of a role. So again, our two center backs massive yesterday despite the loss. But the loss, I mean, I do think both of us agree what the loss came down to in the end. I mean, do you want to talk about it?
You no, you take it away.
Well, first of all, we have to talk about the referee because we get one back. Nico O'Reilly immediately gets City back in front again.
Mm.
Brilliant cross by Erling Haaland. Some suspect defending by Kieran Trippier.
I was gonna say, yeah, it was very weak defending, very,
Yeah,
very weak defending,
I mean, he
unfortunately.
arrived late in the box, but there is no excuse to not at least contest the duel. It kind of looks like Kieran Trippier just ran into Nico O'Reilly without even jumping for the ball.
Mm,
And then, right before halftime, we equalize. A very good goal from Big Dan Burn. And then
yeah,
you get the replay and you see, offside.
yeah,
Well, that particular offside. Well, turns out when a player of the opposition team pushes you into an offside position, normally that shouldn't count as an offside. But when it is a Manchester City player, that often turns out a little different, doesn't it?
yeah. So if you're Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool, any of the big six, yeah, I don't think it actually counts. But
Nah, both hands. Go on, both
yeah,
hands.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it
unbelievable,
is.
isn't it?
I mean, for Ruben Diaz, it is very smart of him to push the guy we're targeting in an offside position because I mean, we've seen what it can do. The VAR didn't think it was necessary to come in between the because I do not even expect the referee or the linesman to see that happening when there is so much happening in every single set piece situation this season. So I don't blame the linesman and the referee in any particular way for this. But for VAR not to step in when the law or the law, the rules clearly state so, that is really, really frustrating. And then in the second half, a second half which, listen, I completely stand behind this thing about the VAR not interfering, but in the second half, we absolutely had every opportunity to win this game. Manchester City have a very weird complex this season where they kind of turn off in the second half. They've done it against
Mm,
teams like Spurs, and they did so again against us. We've had all of the possession in the second half, all of the opportunities, but we look so unbelievably blunt. Yet again,
mm,
when quality defenders just give us the ball and say, go on, try and score against us, our attackers collectively seem to, yeah, be scared of
yeah.
coming up with creative ideas, coming up with things that haven't been worked on the training pitch or haven't been meticulously planned out by anyhow. Just take some risks. And what was the most frustrating part about that for me was sometimes we got to hit them on the counter attack, which you would think we would be good at.
Mm,
But then Anthony Gordon and Anthony Elanga were running on through, and Elanga just didn't spot the run of Gordon because he was running with his head down, and that opportunity was wasted. Or Ramsey and I don't even know who was with him, but I think it was Osula
mm,
got through on goal late together as well. Again, misplaced pass, and that's the opportunity gone for us. That's unbelievably frustrating because we really could have won that game yesterday, despite the fact that Bernardo Silva should have been sent off as well.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because he barged into Dan Burn and nothing was done. That was the 50th minute as well. I
Exactly,
wonder
and
if the ref, I
less
wonder if the
than a
referees
minute
had
before that,
control.
he'd had been given a yellow as well, which was a very
Yeah,
fair yellow in and of itself. So he should have been sent off. In the same breath, that Burn probably should have been sent off as well with a second yellow. So it was very
yeah,
dodgy officiating all round.
yeah, absolutely. And especially with that Villa game as well.
Mhm.
The officiating I think has to be questioned generally in the Premier League. I don't know if you watched the Spurs Arsenal game today
Yeah.
either. Yeah, but it was Gabriel, who else? Who gets
Mhm.
I say pushed over. Um, but yeah,
By
that kind of stuff
Colomwani,
is
right? Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, the officiating has to be questioned. I think. I think it
Mm.
is a real worry for the league at the minute.
Yeah.
Teams are missing out on points. I mean, I don't think it would have affected the result today as much, but especially us, like that Villa game, we could have been affected by that. We're lucky we won 3-1, um,
Absolutely.
because yeah, that could have done us in really badly.
And that particular referee hasn't got a game this weekend, so
Yes, yeah, yeah,
hmm. I'm
yeah. What if he
curious
did
to
something a
see
little bit
how
wrong?
long he'll be out.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'll give it a 2 weeks, I reckon.
Mm. And on the
Yeah,
Arsenal game, I mean, I know some people will already be saying Colomwani pushed with both hands, and in an ideal world, I probably want to see those fouls given as well. But just have a look at every single set piece situation and how much Dan Burn gets pushed and shoved around and
yeah,
I mean pinched and even spat on at times. It's genuinely ugly, very, very ugly to watch. And
yeah,
much more than a stern talking to from the referee is never been done about it. So all we want is consistency. That's everything
yeah,
all Premier League fans are consistently asking for. So
yeah.
yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate as well. It does ruin the game, and I think
Mm.
it ruins the reputation, especially for English football as well.
Yeah, but
But
it's everywhere at this point. I
it
mean,
is everywhere,
this
isn't it?
the Serie A officiating there is an absolute
Awful.
shambles this season.
Awful.
And it's gotten to a point where Azzurri players are eating each other alive on the pitch because of decisions made by the referee. So it's having a negative impact on the national team as well. So
Mm,
it's a mess. I do think a lot of that has to do with the fact that referees have become too reliant on the fact that if they make a mistake, VAR will just correct them. But that's the wrong idea because VAR isn't a guarantee of correct decisions either. It's another way to look at more close decisions, but it's actually it's just another opinion about the same view of that situation. So it's not necessarily as helpful as people probably think it would have been at the start or wanted it to be now. So
Mm.
yeah.
Mm. But yeah, I'll say it's it's hopefully going to get better. I think we all keep saying this. It's hopefully going to get better. But the problem, I don't, the VAR obviously isn't the problem. It is just the people behind it. And until
Mhm.
we get a competent head of the referees, I don't think that's going to change.
I
But
completely agree.
yeah,
And that's exactly the same situation where everybody is calling for Rocky's head because he's the head of the referees in Italy. And I don't think there's as much call for it in Belgium, but the officiating has been pretty woeful as well this season. So it's starting to become a real problem everywhere where I see everywhere, or at least in every league where I see there's VAR involved. So that's why
yeah.
I kind of made the connection between those two.
Mm.
But back to the City game. Lewis Hall scored a pretty brilliant goal. I saw it was the first goal that we scored in the Premier League at the Etihad since DeAndre Yedlin, which
Yedlin, yeah. 2019, I think that was,
yeah,
or 18, something like
that's
that.
a pretty big throwback, isn't it?
It's a mad stat. That's a mad stat. It's
Yeah.
just
I mean,
unbelievable.
we've really struggled at Etihad as of late, so it's unfortunate that we didn't take this opportunity to kind of rewrite those wrongs of recent times. But for now, let's listen to what Paul's thoughts were on both the first half.
So it's half time in today's game, and it's Manchester City 2, Newcastle United 1. And hey, we scored a goal. And that's the first goal we've actually scored in this fixture since DeAndre Yedlin. DeAndre Yedlin, way back when, I think it was 2018. However, that is not the talking point of the game. Yes, we've been soft at the back, in my opinion. Yes, Nick Pope's hands are made out of crisp packets. But the state of the refereeing, again, it has to be questioned every single time, week in, week out, apology letter after apology letter. It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. For me, a perfectly fine, a perfectly good, decent equaliser is denied. Dan Burn heads the ball in. We all go on batshit crazy. But VAR and the lino say it's offside. It is offside because the Manchester City player pushes Dan Burn into an offside position. So, do we get a decision? Is it a foul? No. Do we get a penalty kick? Do we get a goal? Do we get anything? Absolutely not. Not. And then you literally see in 30 seconds, a minute later, the linesman who's just rolled the goal out, absolutely and utterly laughing his head off. The only thing laughable is his performance and the referee's performance time and time again. I'm sick and tired of talking about the same things, the same frustrations, the same things which is just literally staring at you so obviously in the face. Yes, we haven't been the best at the back. But in saying that, with everything taken into account and consideration, it hasn't been a bad performance. But the referees, again, are just fucking us over. And it needs at some point for somebody to stand up at the club and just say, this can't be a pattern. Once or twice, you can understand it. But when it's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times, when it's constantly week in, week out, no, it cannot be. It can simply not be a coincidence. Absolutely and utterly terrible, shocking referee performance. I shouldn't have to be talking about the referees week in and week out, but I feel that I have to because it's just stating the absolute goddamn obvious. There isn't much changes really that we can make to the team, to be honest, because the bench is really, really weak. Even though Sven Botman, 7 players missing, but despite the travelling 5,000 miles, the exertion that the players have put out, um, the limited numbers, they are making a fist of it. They are trying, and there's still everything to play for in the second half. Fingers crossed, but at the half time, it is Manchester City and the referee 2, Newcastle United 1.
And at full time,
So full time and it finishes Manchester City 2, Newcastle United 1, and so close and yet so far. Way more possession in the second half. We had them literally against the ropes, but we couldn't find the knockout blow. Heavyweight battles all over the pitch, but did we work the keeper enough? Perhaps not. We needed, to put not only the determination of the effort, the sweat, blood, and tears that we did show, we needed a little bit of extra quality in the box. The ball wouldn't drop. We couldn't create opportunities. Corner kicks were perhaps overhit. And yeah, it just wasn't to be. But you can't help but feel a sour taste in your mouth, given the fact that we scored a perfectly good goal, an equaliser in the second, literally before the second half, in the first half even, we scored a perfectly good equaliser that should have stood. There's no way that Manchester City player should benefit by pushing an opposition player into an offside position. So I stand by the fact that, I feel a bit gutted we haven't got a draw out of that one because I think we deserved it. I think we scored a perfectly good equalising goal through Dan Burn. And it's just same old frustrations with refereeing performances, linesmen's performances, and then obviously you've got to factor in the schedule. Look, 5,000 miles, I don't take anything away. It would have been an absolutely hellacious trip. Conditioning, they must have been exhausted. They looked exhausted at the end of it. At the end of the day, you can't ask for anything more out of them than basically everything they've got in the locker. And I do think that they gave that, but it just wasn't to be. That 7 players missing today. Perhaps if we'd have had some more of them available, we could have made other substitutions, changed the system up a little bit more, and created them even more problems. But yeah, unfortunately, despite the possession, despite all the good intent and the desire, it was just a slight lack of quality in the second half that cost us. And of course, poor refereeing. But this could be copy and paste. I could copy and paste this section for every update after every single match that we seemingly play. No doubt there'll be another apology letter coming in off Howard Webb in due course. I've no doubt about it. But that absolutely means fuck all. Newcastle United still stuck in mid-table, but look, if they play with the heart and spirit that they showed today for the rest of the season and add in a bit more quality, a bit more luck, get 1 or 2 players more back, which there are a few going to be coming back very, very, very shortly, then I think we'll be okay. I think we'll get into some sort of European competition. On to Qarabag next in the Champions League at St James's Park. Looking forward to that one and hopefully seeing us score a fair few goals. That would be nice. Anyway, it's defeat, it's disappointment. But yeah, you can be proud of the lads for the effort, at least, that they put in through that game. And it's finished Manchester City 2, Newcastle United 1. And we'll see them again shortly in the FA Cup, of course.
And then I want to ask you whether or not you have any final thoughts on this Manchester City performance.
I mean, it was a game there to be won. I think City weren't at full steam, weren't at 100%. But it also showcases where we have probably a few weaknesses in our side as well. Yeah, so I think we're missing Bruno. I think we're missing that orchestrated midfield display that he usually does. And just our attack we just need to be more on it with our attacking threat. We saw it on Qarabag, and I think we need to try and do that with every game we have. We can't be looking at Man City not like we're looking at Qarabag. Do you know what I mean? It's we know it's going to be a tough game, as does any other team, and we need to have that idea of every game could be a tough game. We need to give 110%. So absolutely. I think there was more for us to get there, but yeah, I think we were expecting probably a loss there, but yeah. A little bit more effort. That's all I think that's all I'd ask. A little bit more effort, a little bit more control as well.
Couldn't agree more. Then we have to look ahead at next week's fixtures because we touched already upon it. Newcastle v Qarabag. I mean, I don't foresee this being a really difficult game for us. Let's hope we get the chance or the opportunity to rotate. And then over the weekend, we have Everton in the Premier League, a home game for us at St James's Park after already beating Everton 3-1 or was
4-1 because
4-1 at the Hill Dickinson. Yeah, 2 goals from
Thiago got 2. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So, any predictions for this game?
Oh, it's I think it will be closer than we'd want it to be. I think Everton this season they're a bit like Brentford in a way.
They are 1 point above us in the league.
Yeah, same Everton and Brentford obviously have had really good starts to the season. I want to say we're going to win. I want to say we can win. My heart says we'll win. My head says I think we're going to make it harder for ourselves. I'll go 2-1 to us. I'll go 2-1 to us, but I think we'll need to be wary. We'll need to be wary.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? What do you think?
I completely agree that we'll have to fight for every inch in this game because this is better Everton side than we've seen over the last few years. Players like Iliman Ndiaye do scare me because these are players that kind of can do something out of nothing. And someone like James Garner is a very interesting player if we were to look at squad depth in the midfield, because I do think he has some room to grow as well. But he's the kind of midfielder that any coach loves because he just carries out any role you give him pretty perfectly. And he's also been through the United Academy, so he's had a pretty good footballing education as well. Other than that, I do see that Jake O'Brien will be suspended, so they'll probably have a very big hole at right back because Jake O'Brien isn't exactly a right back himself, but he's had to play there because they lack any sort of real right back. So it will be either Patterson or Coleman. I'd very much be looking to exploit that by probably playing Gordon there. He'll be looking to have make an impact against Everton for sure, and start Wissa up front and Woltemade in the number 10. If we do that, I'll go with a big call and I'll say a 3-0 Newcastle win against a pretty out of form Everton side. All right, so that's pretty much it. That's it for us today. If you did go on to enjoy listening to this on Spotify, please give us a 5-star rating. If you did watch this on YouTube, please subscribe and like this video. Leave a comment to what you think we will do in the Everton game and the Qarabag game. Who you want to face in the next round, Barcelona or Chelsea? Very quickly, who would you like out of those two?
Oh God! So we've played Barcelona already in the Champions League this season, so I think probably we can predict a little bit more with them as well. So I'd actually probably say Barcelona for that reason.
Completely
I know
agree.
Chelsea's form hasn't been good as late as well. Obviously, yesterday they had a 1-1 draw with Burnley. So, but I think for the previous game, Barcelona. I'll go Barcelona.
Yeah, I think I agree. Both teams, there are opportunity for us in both games, so that would be brilliant if we would manage to knock out either one of them. But with Barca, like you said, we've played them, so that's a very easy game for us to analyze. But also, Barcelona are one of the most predictable teams to face in this Champions League because you know with how much of a high line they will play, and you kind of know which 11 players they will use. So with Eddie Howe's long-term planning, which is one of his great strengths in my opinion, I see us being a very, very difficult opponent for Barcelona. The reason I also would like to face them over someone like Chelsea is with the way it's squad depth and the way that Premier League is kind of becoming a Super League. Even for a team like Newcastle, we're pretty much favorites against any non-English side at this point in the Champions League. Because look at how much of a shambles the Italian sides are. At this point, it looks like all of them will be out because Bodo is leading Inter, Gala is leading Juve, Dortmund is leading Atalanta. So it's a really, really strange season, but an opportunity for us to make a very nice run.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
Fantastic. So those are very nice words to end this video on after I've already done the outro, but let's leave this in anyway. Head on over to our socials as well, Magpie 24/7 on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, you know the drill, and we would like to see you in the next episode. Have a good one.
Thank you. See you guys later.